Recently, I haven't actually had a lot of spare time to play games or make videos, but that's just changed. So I thought to myself, what's a game I've really wanted to get into recently, but I just didn't have the time? The answer is Dofus. I did manage to play a little bit of beta a few months back, so I have a tiny bit of experience at the early game, and I knew the class I really wanted to play was Foggernaut. The highest level I reached in the beta was probably only around level 30, maybe 40. So when I say I have a bit of experience, I really do mean a little bit. I do, however, have a lot of experience playing a game called Wakfu. In fact, I have hundreds of hours. So I do think the sort of experience that I got from Wakfu did help me learn a little bit about things like the combat and quests and stuff like that. But I had to keep reminding myself that Wakfu is not Dofus. They may look like they're basically the same game on the surface, but they're not. Day one of my journey, I decided just to take it really slow and work on 100%ing the tutorial island Incarnam. Setting yourself small objectives to slowly work on definitely makes the overwhelming nature of MMOs feel a lot easier to digest. And it means I don't get completely lost on what my current objective is. Incarnam is this cute little what I call tutorial island where you learn the basics of gathering, crafting, combat and questing. But the real way to gauge your progression, earn experience points and make money quickly is through the achievement system. To 100% an area, we need to visit all the zones, complete a challenge on every type of monster, beat the dungeon in the area while also completing a set of challenges, and finally do all the quests. After a few hours running around Incarnam, I finally reached the final step, which was to complete the dungeon. Something that I actually struggled to do solo during the beta on most classes, but Foggernaut feels really overpowered for newer players. I obviously can't comment on later game or experienced players, but for me personally, most of the classes compared to the Wakfu version felt a little bit more lacking. Now Foggernaut is nothing like the version in Wakfu, but a Foggernaut on Dofus is a really fantastic class that I think is really ideal for newer players. We get to summon turrets that have a lot of health, and they often act as distraction for monsters, but also they deal a lot of damage. Later on we can heal ourselves using another turret and also provide ourselves a shield that takes more damage for us. It's a really fun class with lots of utility spells that let us move our character, our turrets, or even monsters all around the field. Day one was obviously very short, but I don't want to burn myself out. Dofus can be extremely overwhelming for a new player, and when I was playing the beta, I very much found that to be the case. So I'm taking my journey nice and slow. We now are in Astrub, and like I said, this is where things get a little bit complicated for me. All of a sudden there are quests everywhere. There's tons to do, lots to see, and getting from map to map isn't always simple how you do it, and I did end up getting a little bit lost. Thankfully you can actually control click the minimap, and your character will auto move for you, which is brilliant. Except that it didn't work. It turns out you need to be a paid member, but to be honest I was going to pay anyway because you kind of have to. So I bought myself some membership and it came with this sidekick called Star Lumino. I'll be honest, if I didn't have this sidekick, I don't think I would be as far through the game as I am now. They have been extremely helpful. They take a lot of damage for you, they deal okay damage, and they actually heal, so incredibly useful. However, there is a little bit more. In Wakfu, you could buy yourself a mount and pet pretty much at the start of the game, allowing you 1 to move from place to place much faster, but 2 you get a lot of stats for having these equipped. And in fact it's the same in Dofus, pets and mounts do in fact give stats. So I bought myself a mount and a pet. Except in Dofus, the ones you buy on the real money auction aren't actually mounts or pets, they're just skins. So this was completely useless. The other thing we got is this weird little bandana thing. Now currently it says its market value is 40 million, which is ridiculous. I will eventually be able to sell it, and I do intend to sell it. I do not think it'll make 40 million, I think maybe I'll make 10% of that. Already I was in Astrub and I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed, not really knowing what to do with myself. I grabbed a couple of quests, I killed a few monsters, I travelled around and just had a look at places. It's here that I discovered just how amazing the achievement system is. So I slowly started to work through the achievement system, and I think I actually also started working on getting a little bit of gear, and I think we started with red pewee, so we actually started to farm it, and I also taught myself how to do crafting and leveling up the crafting to actually get some of the pewee stuff. Then it was finally time for our first proper dungeon, which I struggled. I really struggled. This is the Royal Gobble dungeon. I don't know how easy it's meant to be. I found it really difficult. Eventually I decided to go and work on a new armor set, and we got ourselves the Gobble set. The Gobble set is a fantastic early armor set to get. It gives you lots and lots of stats, but it also gives you extra AP, meaning you can take more actions per turn. Day 3 begins and I could be doing anything. I could be running dungeons, farming achievements, sorting out some quests, but no, I am hunting boar. And the reason I'm hunting boar is because I need the materials to basically increase my carver level. We were tasked with completing a Ricky dungeon, and I couldn't buy a Ricky wand, they just aren't on the marketplace. So I looked into crafting one, and I need level 40 carver. So I got working on crafting my own little Ricky wand, but it's costing me a lot of money, so I am farming for the boar instead. Let me pull up the carver and I'll show you my plan. We need to hit level 40 because we need Ricky wand, or Rikiki wand. Rikiki, maybe that's why, maybe I spelled it wrong. Maybe I can just buy a Rikiki wand. I might have, in my sleepy state yesterday, not realised that you can buy one of these. With our Rikiki wand in tow, we can now shrink down our character and enter our next dungeon. Compared to the Royal dungeon, this one was actually a lot easier, and I actually managed to beat it first try. But you will notice that I'm still not really going for the challenges. Just focusing on the dungeon alone is honestly about as much I can manage at this point. In fact, I haven't really been doing any of the challenges in my previous dungeons, so once we're a higher level and a bit more geared, we'll come back to them and clean up any remaining challenges. With the dungeon finished, all we need to do is talk to this bug to finish our quest. But since I never read the quest dialogue, I clicked the wrong option and I left the dungeon before finishing my quest, so now we need to run it again. Thankfully, each week you can actually get one free entry into a dungeon using an item called a bunch of keys. And because each quest normally gives you a key, I did actually have a spare key to re-enter the dungeon. And with that, we reach level 44. Day 4, I wanted to have a break from running dungeons and focus more on completing up my Astrub achievements, so I started off with the quests. There were a lot of quests, but thankfully the wiki is absolutely incredible and super easy to follow, making this a really relaxing experience. Handing in this quest to the squirrel should finish off my last Astrub quest, giving us all the achievements in that category, but also we should finish off a main quest achievement as well. Sadly it didn't work, so I just went back to Astrub to see if talking to the squirrel elsewhere would work. Seeing the rewards for the main quest achievements really shifted my focus. Sure, some of them required level 100, but the items give so much stats. But unfortunately this gobble set was starting to feel a little weak now. This is where I really want to praise Dofus. There are so many menus in game to see every monster, every item, where to find them, and even commands to auto-move to that location. It's really helpful and incredibly easy to use. However, from what I can tell is there is no way to properly look at the different sets in the game. There is a sets button, but it seems like it's just a way to sort of experiment with different skills and stuff like that. I would like a way just to basically see every different gear set in the game, see what a set bonus is, and it'll make it a lot easier to figure out what sets I'm moving towards. After doing a lot of research, I thought that the Fire Quack set looked really good, and I attempted to farm and craft some pizza myself, but the monsters completely resist my damage type, so that wasn't going to work. Instead, I opted to spend most of my hardened Ankamas to upgrade, and it was worth it. Our main quest took us to Pandala Island, home of the Pandala class, one of my personal favourite classes in wakfu. We needed to undergo a trial and destroy this purple flame, but attempt after attempt I couldn't do this. I'm pretty confident this challenge is not designed for the Foggernaut in mind. Hitting anything but the purple one will swap your location with them, and getting touched by any of the balls instantly kills you. so positioning is really hard. I don't really have single target spells. It was really hard to not accidentally hit the small ones. On top of that, at the start of their turn, each ball had its own effect, including damaging everything on the field, as well as healing and shielding anything around them. If you kill the small balls, they will actually just revive next to the purple flame and instantly cast their ability, often healing all the damage that you did. I gave up on this and decided to call it a day here. Day 5 begins with me getting incredibly lucky and somehow completing this fight. I still don't know what I did to manage this, but I'll take it. Our main quest has basically just become running dungeons at this point, so we may as well do them both together as well as trying to get achievements for completing the challenges. So now for me, most dungeons actually have all of the challenges complete, and I did then go back to start completing the challenges on every single monster type that I missed. Astrub is basically 100% complete, and I've made a good chunk through Ankama too. However, this is where I ran into a slight problem. According to a lot of forum posts as well as Reddit, newer players do not want to actually go on the regular servers like I did. Apparently they're also known as classic servers, and they've been around for a long time. The economy doesn't really benefit newer players on these servers, and actually it's recommended to go on a pioneer server, which is only a few months old. And so I decided to do that. I'm sticking with my intelligence Foggernaut, but I've also started a second account, so I'm pairing it up with I think a Chance Sacria, a class I could actually never get the hang of in a wakfu. But honestly, I'm really excited about starting over. By playing 2 accounts, one of them can actually run Star Lumino, while the other runs the Astrub Knight sidekick, meaning I can get even more achievements completed, leveling up even faster. Also, by the end I started to experiment with gear, and what I discovered was how amazing the wisdom stat is. It rapidly increases how much experience you earn, so I was leveling up much faster by the end, finishing off day 7 around level 70. I'm fairly confident I can actually get back to that point on both my characters in maybe a day, maybe 2 if I decide to play it nice and slow. I'm not fully sold on a Sacria, I just wanted a class that could deal the opposite sort of damage to my Foggernaut, and I'd never tried Sacria in the beta, but the videos I've seen showed him dealing a lot of high AoE damage, which is my kind of playstyle. There is so much more that I did during this week, including learning how mounts work, farming my own red peewee pet, and generally just learning how Dofus works. But I'm really enjoying myself and I'm looking forward to get further into the game. So, thank you all so much for watching. Please let me know if you've got any tips and leave them down in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll see you all again very soon. Bye bye.